For as long as I can remember, I have loved movies. Like many children, I would fall in love with the film and watch it repeatedly, never quite understanding why I loved it. I just knew I loved it, and I just knew that it was fun and that there was so much there that I didn't comprehend. Films like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, Batman Returns, Pirates of the Caribbean, and many, many more. All these films left a very big impression on me. All these films reshaped my imagination and just changed my perspective on the world. But there was one film that stood out, and there was one film that scared me so much that I was never able to swim in my grandma's pool alone ever again. That film is Steven Spielberg's Jaws. This film really made an impact on me. It scared the hell out of me and traumatized me in many ways. It established the fear of water I have. To this day, I still get in the ocean. In fact, I get into where it's about chin deep, but I do truly have a fear of water, like of the ocean, of large bodies of water, and of course, of the animals that live within the ocean. And man, the scene when Hooper finds the decapitated head in the boat traumatized me. I could never watch that scene for so many years. I would always fast forward that scene. I love the movie, I'd watch it repeatedly, but as soon as we'd get to that scene, I'd fast forward it. But despite that fear, like I said, I was obsessed. I just kept watching this film. I saw the entire trilogy. I think there's just three of them. The other ones are, the second one's pretty good. I haven't seen it in a while, to be honest. But the first one, Jaws, that's the one I've seen like 200 times probably. But despite the film having a serious effect on me, it exposed me to an aspect of myself at an early age that would later become a big part of who I am, which is loving horror films. I grew up in a very old-fashioned household, so I was never exposed to horror films. I was never allowed to watch anything like that. Until thus far, the scariest thing I had ever seen was The Green Goblin. But like truly seeing fear, truly seeing life and death in this context blew my mind. And it sparked the horror fan within me. The primal satisfaction you get of survival when you watch a horror film, and that twisted curiosity we all have of seeing something terrible. Kind of like not being able to look away from a car crash. What Jaws also did for me was it established the type of horror I would consume. Because even though I love horror films, I don't classify myself as a horror fan because I don't love it all. I don't love just gore fest slasher films. I feel like there needs to be some substance there for me, or it needs to be very character driven, just like Jaws. Because Jaws is about three very different men. That's why the film works, because of Quint, Brody, and Hooper. Those characters and their dynamic is what makes the film so entertaining and so believable. Their banter is hilarious, and that kind of goes for the whole film. The entire film is full of dialogue that is very funny. The film never feels like a comedy either. It doesn't feel like a horror comedy. The film gets serious and the stakes are real. But I feel like Spielberg and his screenwriters understood that in everyday life, people are funny. Even when people aren't trying to be funny, it is a funny situation. And I feel like there's so many moments in this movie that are laugh out loud funny. And I just think that completely adds with the believability of this world and of these characters. And honestly, most of the film is realistic. I mean, the actions and the size of the shark, it's not out of the realm of possibility, and Spielberg takes advantage that he has kept the film relatively realistic and he has our suspension of disbelief. So that by the time we get to the end of the film, we have that iconic, big, glorious finale that the audience cheers, and it's great. I love that ending. It's so satisfying. It's such a crowd-pleasing finale for a horror film, you know? But what I love is that even though that film has such a crowd-pleasing finale, he's already scarred us. So I mean, I know I'm not the only one, but the first few times I saw this film, I would watch the entire credits, just waiting for them to get to the actual beach, because even though I knew logically the shark is dead, as they're just swimming to the beach, I'm like, no, they might die. He might come back. There might be another shark, like, you know? And I just love it because it goes to show you how the film just messes with your brain. And even though we know he's dead, we're like, they're not out of the woods yet. They're not out of the water yet, you know? Also, I have to acknowledge the score. John Williams' score, man. Iconic. Truly one of the greatest scores in cinema history. John Williams totally made Jaws what it is. And I mean, I feel like we often say that about the iconic films he's done. But I do think a film like Jaws, horror is so reliant on literally every aspect of cinema, which is why I feel like true cinema lovers also love horror because you're so reliant on tone, atmosphere, cinematography, sound design, music, and then of course the visuals. So Jaws really elevates the film and makes it what it is. And Steven Spielberg has said, and I agree, that the music is 50% of the film. And without the score, Jaws doesn't work. And yeah, I mean, that score is immensely simple, but so effective. And the way they use it is so clever because they play with when they use it in the context of the film. It messes with your brain. And it's just such a great score, such a great use of a score as well. And I just think that as a kid, Jaws just introduced me to a new type of cinema. It just exposed me to horror, to death portrayed in such a intense way, and also a film truly being about adults. I mean, even though the film is an adventure story in many ways, they're not superheroes, they're not larger than life characters. They're real men dealing with a very serious problem. And I just feel like that, along with all the reasons we love Jaws, is why this will always remain one of the greatest films of all time to me. And I think personally, this film truly does get better with age. I don't think this is a film where it's reliant on nostalgia or for the times, like, oh, for the 1970s, this was a good film. Like, I often feel that with watching older films, like a film like Halloween. I love it, I appreciate it, but I do think it's very much for the times. But a film like this, to me, it gets better with age. So much of the dialogue is obscure. So much of the dialogue is either you can't even tell because of the accents, or you just don't even know what they're talking about because there's so many deleted scenes, or there's so many things they had to take out of the script. So I feel like a lot of the times you don't even know what characters are talking about, but the story itself is so simple that you kind of just go with it. And I feel like the more you watch it, the more you understand everyone's dialogue, the more rich the film becomes, and the more funny it honestly becomes. These characters, like I said, it just adds to the immersion and the realism of all these characters and the townspeople and all that. And man, I mean, I quote this movie so much. Like I said, I love this movie so much. And I often will say the obvious one, we're gonna need a bigger boat, or you're gonna need a bigger boat. But I'll often say, I got no spit when I'm feeling nervous or just joking around like I'm anxious or something. Sometimes it doesn't even make sense, but like I'll say it, I'll think it. That's a 20-footer, 25, 3 tons of them. That or a what? I mean, you get it. If you're a Jaws fan, you get it. There's so many out there. There's so many more quotes. But yeah, this film is absolutely a staple in pop culture, in cinema history. And I think the legacy will continue for many, many years to come. And I love that. I love that for Jaws. And yeah, I just wanted to express it because this is such an important film for me. 50 years, crazy. And I love that people are still talking about this film. And me, myself, a young guy, talking about a film like Jaws. So let me know your relationship with Jaws, how it affected you, if it also scarred you from water, or if it created a fascination with the sharks, like Hooper and Quint. But yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching.